You know, I remember working at Department of Corrections, and like I said, we had this one unit. I remember it was a homosexual unit. I mean, these guys would walk down. You know, you have all these hardcore dudes, and you have them walk by, and I remember saying, "Man, I'll never work on that unit," right? We just got, man, you know, I was real homophobic, seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I'll never work. And then guess what? 2 weeks later, I get transferred to that unit. And I'm like, now, you know, the guys that goes, "Oh, you're going to be our new caseload." I'm like, oh, Lord, you know. But, you know, God changed my heart. He said, you know, I want you to minister to them.
That's right.
You don't be judgmental like that. These guys, and I started reading their files, how they've been abused, and the things that they went through. I mean, just the trauma. You know what I'm saying? My heart just started going out, softening. And I said, well, how do I minister to them, Lord? He said, you know, John 8:32, the truth shall make them free. He says, do a research on the word gay. Right? I said, okay. And I found out the word gay comes from the word Gaia, from the goddess Gaia. Then it led me into research into the Old Testament in Ezekiel, where they talk about the male shrine prostitutes. And how God commissioned the judges, right? And the prophets and the kings. Get rid of the male shrine prostitutes. You know, I used to read that all the time. I was, who are the male shrine prostitutes? Then I found out that what they would do is that the male shrine prostitutes in Israel, the children of Israel, were involved in this. You know, when they got captive in Babylon and they were captive in Egypt. And basically they'd get up on a tall hill, right? They always want to be on a high place. And they would erect in back of them a phallic pole. You know what a phallic pole is? The Washington Monument. Did you know Christians were trying to protest the Washington Monument? Why? That is Osiris's male organ. Okay? And it's like, where did that come from? And you know, you look at the dome, who is that? That's Isis's womb, the Queen of Babylon's womb. And that is his male organ right on the side. But you notice that we're never taught that in, like I said, in our school system. Why? Because the Rockefellers, who are Luciferians, created the general education in 1904. So that's why you never learn what's on the dollar bill or anything like that. Because that's what the cult does. They hide secrets in plain sight. Well, anyway, the men of Israel would be walking through the land, and they look on this hill, and they see this phallic pole, or sometimes they put a tree behind them. That also would represent a phallic pole, or the male organ. And they'd have a tent in front. And, you know, the male prostitute would be sitting out in front. And the men of Israel would be like, hey, what you doing up there? Well, I'm paying homage to the goddess Gaia, G-A-I-A. Why are you doing that? Well, the goddess Gaia, you know, if you pay homage to her and bless her, she'll bless your harvest, your livestock, and make your women fertile. Well, we want to worship her. Well, how do we do that? Well, come up this hill, come in this tent, and I'll show you how.
Oh, no.
And so there was abominable acts going on in that tent. And they believed that would appease the male gods. Because did you know Zeus, even in Homer writings, the oracles of the Greek oracles, Zeus was a pedophile, right? He had a relationship with a teenage boy named Gadamendi. Okay, that's where you got all this new perverted type stuff's coming out. Because a lot of this stuff comes from Greek mythology. But they believed when they did that the male gods, right, constellation, which were really fallen angels, would then pour their semen into Mother Earth. That's where you get the term Mother Earth, also known as Gaia.
Wow.
And then she would produce a blessing. It was called Gaia Worship. Later on, in the homosexual movement, they changed it to try to hide it again to G-A-Y. And you know, you'd be amazed when I explain that story to anyone that's in bondage to that lifestyle, how receptive they are. I've never had one of them get mad at me, get angry with me. I've had many of them, can you pray for me? I don't want to do this. Because I'll say, you know what, look me in my eye and you tell me if this is okay with your God-given conscience. I said, can you look me in my eye right now for longer than 5 seconds and tell me? None of them can do it.
Wow.
And they'll just look away and say, you're right, But you see how receptive. He said, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because that spirit is as real as any other spirit. You see? And a lot of people walk in self-righteousness. Well, at least I'm not that way. Yeah, but you got pride. You got something else.
Right.
You see? But a lot of times, if you just explain to them that, I had that at one time at a restaurant. I had a gay waiter and stuff like that. I explained that. But they were receptive. People want prayer when you want that. Because a lot of them, they don't want to be like that. Can somebody be born gay? What about generational curses? Don't always say they can't.
Excellent.
Maybe they are.
Yeah, that's right.
We just say, no, they can't. Well, what if that spirit flows into the next generation? You guys heard generational curses?
Yeah.
Seen that, little 2-year-old boy just walking real, on his tippy toes and everything like that. Right? And it's like, but that can happen. And a lot of times, that's why a lot of them commit suicide. Nobody understands them.
Right.
Trying to tell you this, but you're not listening. Oh, you need to just be a man. Be a lady. Right? There's things called, the Marin spirit. That's like demons that, a demonic kingdom that's really well known in Africa and even Brazil. Do some research on called the Marin kingdom. Because the devil operates not only on land, but in the sea and in the air. Okay? And they got things called spiritual husbands and spiritual wives, where demons will come and just possess someone and just take ownership. And it's like they'll always their marriage will always be messed up. It's like generational curses through marriage after marriage after marriage. I don't have time to go into that, but we prayed over that, and we've seen people just manifest. Sometimes these spirits will start speaking out. You see? So this is real things. So a lot of times, we gotta, before we just accept something, look into it. Just like, get a deeper understanding.